Welcome to this episode of the Pandacast. My name is Bunney, or SamuraiPanda. I'm the CEO of Panda Global, and this episode is on how to start your own esports org. I'm not sure entirely why this is such a popular topic, why people keep asking me about this, but I've been asked many, many times by many different people, so I figured this is probably a decent topic to start off on. So, how to make an esports org. First, for those who are considering to make an esports organization, let me just say this. Don't. I'm dead serious. It is hard, a lot of work, not nearly as easy as you think, and takes a lot more than you probably can anticipate. I was in the same boat. I thought, this esports thing seems easy. I bet I could do it better than other people that are doing it. And, treat people like actual human beings while, able to form something and build community. Wow. I don't know. I don't know if I knew what I was getting into, if I would have done it, because it's been a lot of work, but I don't regret it, if that makes sense. So, if you, no matter what, still want to do your own esports organization, then let me give you sort of a general rundown. This is obviously not exhaustive, and it's trying to apply to orgs of all different sizes and shapes and types. So there are 5 elements to the beginning of an esports team that I think are paramount. And these 5 elements are insight, plan, connections, funding, and one of the most important, luck. So let's tackle these one by one. Insight. So first and foremost, if you're going to start an esports organization and you don't know the first thing about Smash Esports or, FGC Esports or League of Legends or Fortnite or whatever game you're trying to do, then why are you doing this? Or you better have someone that you can trust, because understanding the community is a big deal about how to do esports correctly, which is a whole other topic of what is correctly. But anyways, so when you look at these teams that are VC funded or literally just appear out of nowhere, and a bunch of millionaires decide to create it, they have no engagement, no excitement. People don't care about them. People ignore their existence for the most part, despite them having big properties or getting some big players. Why? Because the organization doesn't seem genuine. The organization doesn't really know what they need to do to appeal to the common gamer, to the common a Twitch viewer or Twitter follower. Insight is multivariable and is very, very, very important. And insight is the difference between esports veteran and someone who, it just has an interest in esports. Insight can also mean knowing what players are worth it. Understanding that, the certain players may have potential, other players may not. You can't just go off what you read by paper or by recommendations. Being able to watch them play and analyze for yourself, this person is good, and being able to apply that between different genres, even genres you may not necessarily play, but you've dabbled in, being able to recognize those key features. These are important for someone who wants to start an esports organization. Your first players, the people you choose, are important. Panda Global, we launched PG with 3 players, ESAM, MVD, and FChamp. And then we very soon after signed Plup and Coach Steve as well. So, and that was like about a month and a half after we started. We signed them. Actually, Plup was probably less. So, we chose great people for a reason. We saw the potential. I watched Plup play. I watched him lose. I hope Plup's not listening to this, but I watched him lose to Leffen. And I believe it was Mango. This is CEO 2015, I believe. I said, but it was so close. He did so amazing. This guy is good. he's going to be someone someday. And seeing how he took the loss, seeing how much it impacted him, I knew that he would go home, go to the lab, study, train, and come back even better. And that's exactly what he did. It's exactly what he did. So, it's that sort of insight into things, that if you don't have that insight, if you can't look at a game and kind of get an understanding of it, even if you don't play it at a competitive level and understand what qualities someone may or may not be or may not make them good, or understand what the community would want, understand like, oh, this player would be really exciting to sign because of the community, like they're a very vibrant person, like there's so many different aspects to it. If you don't have that insight, you can't start a team. Okay. Now, number two is a plan. So you think esports is sports. You think I'm going to just build a roster of the best players or the best up-and-comers or the best diamonds in the rough, send them out, and they're going to do really well, and I'm going to get money. No. It's not how it works. You need a plan, okay? You need to sit down and do your research and look at different orgs. List them out. Orgs of all sizes, big, small, medium, orgs that do games you don't even do. Specifically, research those that are doing well, obviously, or research the ones that are doing poorly. You need to identify, what will you be? What will your org be? What is your message? What is your vision? And what is your niche? Why are you going to esports? What value will you bring esports that these other orgs do not do? What can you do better than them? That is your mission statement. That is what you decide to go forward and do and focus on wholeheartedly. Make that your niche. Carve it out. Say, this is mine. I do this better than anyone else. I being the org. That will set you apart from other teams. Finding that is not easy. Doing that is not easy. Succeeding in that is the hardest part of all. But if you can somehow achieve this, that's how you can be successful. 4 years ago, when we started Panda Global, PG was just a thought in my head. I took it to David, who's our co-founder, and we didn't just buy a logo and a jersey and call it a day. We spent 2 months doing market research, building out business plans, and we actually formed a multi-pronged business approach to how to do esports correctly. We didn't just launch PG because we felt like it. There was a lot of thought and effort put into this company before we founded it. Before we even thought it was worth doing, when it was just a thought in my head. So the planning step, extremely important. Now, number 3, connections. This is hard. And this means that you know, if you're sitting at home, if you've never gone to a tournament, it's going to be, or an event or anything, you don't know anybody, you just have the desire and the, whatever else you need. You also need the connections. And by the way, I apologize if you can hear it raining. It's the windows right outside over there. You need the connections in the industry because people aren't willing to give you a chance. They've been burned over and over and over again because, exactly like I said, anyone could just start an esports org and they could buy followers, and they used to be able to. I still can, but I think it's difficult now. I'm not sure. It's what people tell me, but they could buy followers and, seem legit. Go to a sponsor and say, hey guys, we can, we have all these followers, look at us. And this, when the sponsors actually put money towards that or give them product and realize this is not working out, we've got nothing out of this deal, they got burned. When you talk to a player, funny story, we were actually rejected by 3 Melee players before PG launched, before we decided on Plup. Because I was there at the event, I saw Plup. But these 3 players, I was just doing research at home and decided to reach out to them because they didn't know who we were. That's rough. We started Panda Global, specifically named Panda because SamuraiPanda, my tag, was a fairly known person within the Brawl community. And Melee guys didn't know who I was because I went to medical school during Melee's resurgence, and I was sort of out of the Smash scene by then, or else they may have heard of me. So they didn't know who I was. They didn't know I was trustworthy. And luckily, I had, met MVD before and housed him before, so he knew who I was. He knew I was a good person. I've met FChamp before as well. So, and Chris G, who vouched for me as well, and Justin Wong, who vouched for me too. So, anyways, the point is, without connections, now it's difficult for me to say it's necessary. This one, the connections. I will say that it makes your life infinitely easier. But I'll also say that it may not necessarily be needed to start a team. That said, without it, you're fighting an enormous uphill battle. And I don't know whether or not you can be successful in a reasonable time frame without connection. So can you start an esports org without them? Yes. Can you be a successful esports org without them? Probably not. Okay, so, connections are definitely important. Now, number 4, funding. You will not make money for a long time. Period. You will not make money for a long time. Esports is very, very hard. I think it took us, before we were making a good amount of money, like a year and a half, before we landed our first big contract. Esports is not easy. And you have to treat these people well. You have to treat the players well. You have to provide for them. You have to give to them. You have to fly them out to things. You have to give them gear. You have to pay the man who is designing your gear for you. You have to pay the people who are going to print it for you. You have to pay the people to make your website. Esports requires funding to do right. Does it need a lot of funding? Maybe not in the beginning, but over time, yes. And that's one thing that people don't get. They say, okay, so I price out the site, I price out a couple jerseys, I price this out, and this is not too bad. I can save up and I can do this. No. You need a lot more money than that. Trust me. We have in our budgets, like hidden cost budget, of every month there's something that comes up. Every month there's plenty of things that come up that we can't plan for. And we have to pay for it. It's important, player misses their flight, we've got to buy them a new flight, and chastise them, things like that. And you can't prepare or predict that stuff, but what I can say is whatever number you came up with for what it'll take to start your esports organization, multiply that by 10, and you might have a good starting point for how long it might take you to do, how long it might take you to know if this is worth it or not. Panda Global has been funded by me. By trade, I am a doctor. When I was lucky enough to be able to save money for a few years. I'm a fairly frugal person normally, and I was just putting it aside for no apparent reason. And then when I decided to do PG, I basically said, okay, well, I have this money I set aside, let's just do it. And I started funneling that into it. In residency, you don't make a whole lot of money, but it's livable. And then I graduated. Now I'm a full-time physician, attending, that is to say, where it's a little bit different, and I make more of a quote-unquote doctor salary, and I still invest in Panda Global's future. to this day. Even though we are doing very well for ourselves, I still want to do new projects, do new things, and these require more investment. Funding is important. Okay. We have other investors now, and that's helping us grow more, so it's, you have to be able to not just fund it, but know the person funding it can trust you, has the same idea as you, knows that this is not a quick turnaround. A lot of people went to esports, and I can name off a decent number of orgs that I've seen crumble, even with owners that had a lot of money, because they just didn't see the return for 2 years, sometimes 3 years, sometimes. They just didn't see money back. It's hard, and your funding person should know that going into it. They should know that they're not going to see a return for a decent amount of time. Hopefully they do eventually, but honestly speaking, sometimes they never do. And that is something that they should be aware of before starting the organization, and when they're giving you the money, and they should be cognizant of that. Okay. And I will say that we got very lucky that time of entry, and I didn't have a whole lot of money. Esports was a lot cheaper back then. There was less events you had to go to, and salaries are lower. The hotels are cheaper. Just everything was a little bit easier at that time. So it is more than what we started with Panda Global, because I wasn't able to put aside too much money, unfortunately. Okay, now number 5, luck. And this sucks to hear, because how do you prepare for this? You don't. Luck happens. Your player gets a huge upset, and that's amazing. And you can't plan for that. Your star player drowns in pools, and that sucks. That's terrible. And you have to be able to recover from that fumble. You have to be able to sustain the org when that doesn't, when the bad luck happens and when the good luck happens. You have to be able to capitalize on it when the good luck happens. And you have to be able to roll with the punches and learn how to take a hit when the bad luck happens. You can't prepare for things. And I'm going to go back to sort of our origins, EVO 2015. We had signed FChamp thinking, he had never, and this is of no slight to FChamp, Ryan's a wonderful guy. I like him a lot. Great person. Ryan had never missed an EVO top 8 for possibly ever since he was playing like a Marvel or a Street Fighter. EVO 2015, the EVO that he was with us, was the first EVO he didn't get a top 8 in any game. And he was playing a lot of games. I think he was even playing Killer Instinct that EVO. It was ridiculous. He spread himself thin. But he was supposed to be the sure thing. And he wasn't. So that sucked. That was a big stroke of bad luck for us. And that, in a lot of ways hampered our recognition within the FGC for a little while. Because he was our mainline FGC player. And Coach Steve, who had won the Rookie of the Year the year before, had a decent showing, but nothing that really could put us on the map. So that was the bad luck. Then the good luck was that Leffen sucks against Samus. Plup's controller broke, or he spilled beer on it, broke his Z button. He played Samus against Leffen in EVO, and the charge shots heard around the world. It was so insanely hype. It was so incredible. And that was the first big moment of PG. That was the first time we really stood out and people knew who we were. Because he did that well, and obviously people knew who we were in Smash because of that. That was luck. We didn't plan for that. And frankly speaking, I feel that if we didn't start PG when we did, we wouldn't be here today. Like, if we had started PG a month later, we wouldn't have survived. We wouldn't be here today. We got lucky. And I work my butt off. David works his butt off. Our staff works ridiculously hard to keep PG going and to keep us striving for new things and for better things. But no amount of hard work on our end can make up for that luck that happens occasionally. When your team that you signed, doesn't have to face off against their demon because they lost in bracket before from an upset, and then your team goes all the way, that's luck. That's incredible. You cannot rely on luck. You can't. You can only prepare for luck. You can only say, if this is going to happen, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. And sometimes you don't have a plan. Sometimes you just got to wing it. Sometimes bad luck happens and, well, you just stand up and you keep going. And you just figure out, okay, well, what can I do to fix this? And when good luck happens, you say, okay, cool. How can I make this even cooler? How can I make this even better? Luck is an important part. I personally believe PG has been very lucky in our history, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm very happy this has happened, and I can't rely on good luck to keep happening. So I try to make the organization as stable and as I guess immobile in a way as possible, so that when the bad luck happens, we're not going to be toppled over by that wind. And when the good luck happens, we'll be there to hold it up. So luck, unfortunately, and this is the part people definitely don't want to hear, can be the deciding factor between the success or failure of an organization. If by luck something happens to your player that you signed, your big star player, and you don't have anyone else, that's you're done. That sucks. If I've seen other orgs where this happens, like they are a small organization, they do well, they may have a star player on their roster, a 5-man team, something like that, and one of their players gets poached to another team. They get offered way too much money, and you're like, I don't know what to do. And this is when a lot of the shady things in esports happen, where you see, I'm not going to let them go out of their contract and things, which is terrible. Holding people back like that, but still, it's it happens sometimes, and you have to figure out what to do. You have to be able to take the next steps and say, okay, I'm losing this chunk of me because of luck, because of chance, because of whatever. How else will this org keep running? What else can we do? So anyways, that's the 5 big tenets I would say about starting your own esports organization. As a recap, that is insight into the esports, into the scene, into the games, into the communities, understanding what you're doing. Plan. You got to build it out. You got to understand the scene. You have to know what you do better than anyone else. Connections, knowing people, get yourself out there, talk to people, make people know who you are. And when you start your organization, they'll understand that you are trustworthy. You are someone that's worth connecting to other people. You are someone who is worthwhile and, frankly speaking, not shady. That's important. More important than anything in esports. Number 4, funding. Whatever you think esports costs, or starting an org costs, it's going to cost way more than that. You're not going to make money for a long time. You and your investor should know this, and should know that this is an investment. This is not some quick turnover. It's expensive, and you won't be seeing a return for a decent amount of time. Still, don't expect that to happen within the first year, even 2 years, sometimes 3 years, sometimes. Dead serious. And number 5, luck. Just know that this can be the deciding factor between making or breaking your organization, and know and prepare your organization to survive the bad luck and be able to build upon the good luck. If you've listened to this talk and you still want to build an esports org, understanding how difficult it is, and frankly speaking, how much out of your control your success is, I wish you the best of luck. It's very difficult. It was a tough journey for me, and it continues to be a daily struggle. I'm very happy. I'm happy I did it. I'm happy I'm here. I'm happy that this all turned out this way. I'm happy I was able to give the gift of professional gaming to so many people, to the players, to the fans. I'm happy I've been able to build a community that gives back. I'm happy I've been able to look at the games that I love and make them better games and better communities because of my organization. And I am proud of where we've gotten. But there's so much more I want to achieve. There's so much more I want to do with this organization and in the future. So it was worth all of that effort, all of that time. And it'll still be worth it. I'm looking forward to the future. Anyways. Samurai Panda, out. It's not a very good ending. I should figure out a better ending than that. Anyways, bye.